Hey, how's it going, friends? Today I want to list off my top 5 favorite fighting games of all time. So I've been a fan pretty much my whole life, and I'm not a pro or anything like that, but I just thought it'd be fun to list off my top 5 favorites. Feel free to let me know in the comments if you guys agree, disagree, and also let me know what your favorites are. But without further ado, let me start things off with my number 5. So coming in at number 5 on my list is Capcom vs. SNK 2. Capcom vs. SNK 2, or CVS 2 for short, is an iconic title that launched in 2001. It's the second in the series, but widely the more preferred title due to the improved gameplay and visuals. King of Fighters, while not a huge game globally, became a lot more well known by partnering up with Capcom and Street Fighter for this game. Both fighters play very different from each other, but they ended up meshing extremely well together, and it created something that felt entirely new. To existing fans of both games, the idea of Ryu versus Terry Bogard was a dream come true, and it quickly became a treasured collaboration. Nowadays, in games like Smash, we have matchups like Terry versus Mario, but back then this sort of thing was pretty new. The game plays faster than traditional Street Fighter and uses KOF's usual 3v3 style. When combined together, it made for a fast-paced, fun fighting game for any fan of the genre. Alright, now coming in at number 4 on my list is Tekken 7. Tekken 7 is known for being very technical, requiring some high execution to perform most combos. A game, while difficult to master, is both extremely fun and rewarding. Tekken games don't tend to stray too far from the usual formula, and Tekken 7 is no exception in many ways. However, the things they did include really made this title stand out from the pack for me. They decided to add a meter with super attacks, similar in style to Street Fighter. And if that wasn't enough, they straight up added in a Street Fighter character on top of that, Akuma. The super attacks, while being a step away from their norm, added an extra element of hype that really helped set this game apart for me. This, coming from a guy who has always favored Street Fighter games, it really won me over as a fan, and I quickly found myself addicted to Tekken 7. This game has what I consider to be some of the best visuals to any fighter on the market, and combined with the new gameplay elements, this version of Tekken is definitely my favorite. And now for number 3, Street Fighter 4. At first I wasn't sure about this game. The learning curve was steep and the skill ceiling felt infinite. And I also really just missed the classic sprite-based art style too. Back in 2008 when it launched, I bought the game out of love for the series but never took the time to really learn how to play. So the game ended up sitting on the shelf for a few months because of how difficult it was. This is where I was introduced to the FGC and the pro tournament scene, and after that everything changed. Watching players like Daigo do amazing things motivated me to at least learn the basics and become somewhat competent. From there I was hooked, and every step of the learning process was rewarding, unlike any fighter I'd played before. Learning the basics of complex tactics like cancels and ambiguous cross-ups was confusing at first, but well worth the time invested. It's because of this game that I fell in love with fighting games again and discovered the competitive scene, which for me became just as fun as playing the game itself. This game is for anyone who grew up loving the series and fans of fighting games in general. All the classic characters are back, and there is enough styles to suit any player. Alright, so these next 2 games are very nostalgic to me. I grew up with them, and they're a big reason why I love fighting games to this day. So at number 2 on my list is Soul Calibur 2. The idea of a fighting game, only with swords, was such an exciting concept to me as a kid, and it really still is now. Throw in some of my favorite characters of all time and I was sold 100 times over. Soul Calibur 2 did something very unique at the time when it launched back in 2002. It featured an exclusive character from each platform it was released on: Spawn on Xbox, Heihachi from Tekken on PS2, and most importantly for me was Link for GameCube. I couldn't wait to play it. Having never played the previous titles in the Soul Calibur series, this game was totally new to me, and the 3D movement was something I'd never experienced before. But as I only played it on a casual level, the more technical aspects of it never even occurred to me at the time. Which is really a testament to how great this game is, since fans of any kind can play it and have fun. At the time, the graphics were considered great, and seeing Link in such a setting was incredible to me. And ever since this game, I always kept an eye out for future releases of the franchise. And for me personally, Soul Calibur 2 is still the best Soul Calibur game to this day. Alright, coming in at number 1, I think some of you guys might have guessed it by now. This is undoubtedly the best fighting game to me. We're talking about none other than Evander Holyfield's Real Deal Boxing. And at number 1 on my list is Super Street Fighter 2. So I know there's about 2 million different versions of this game, and the most optimal is Super Turbo. But they're all mostly mild variations, so I'm really referring to any and all versions of Super Street Fighter 2. This game is the epitome of a good fighting game for me, and it has all the elements I love. Awesome and diverse cast of characters, unique and memorable stages, and what I consider to be some of the best music in video games, such as the iconic Guile theme. Street Fighter 2 without the Super was also an amazing game and set the groundwork for what Super ended up cranking up several notches in every category. More characters, stages, music, more of everything that makes this game great. Growing up, I'd play this with my siblings or by myself, and regardless of who my opponent was, I'd lose 90% of the time anyway. But I didn't even care. Nothing about this game was easy, even by today's standards. Basic fireballs and uppercuts never came out too well, and especially on Super Nintendo, which I played on, I was practically burning holes through my thumbs trying to slide out the right motions. But it was always worth it. The reward for me was beyond winning, and just getting some sick special move to come out was a victory in itself. I became a huge fan of Street Fighter ever since this game, and for me, even with the many great games that came after it, this one is still, and probably always will be, the best. So missing from this list are the Smash Bros games. I left them out intentionally just because they aren't traditional fighters, but I also really love those games, so I'm gonna make a separate video about those. Thanks again for watching, everyone. I look forward to reading all of your opinions in the comments, but until next time, see you later.